Welcome to episode 53 of the High Volume Hiring Podcast. I'm Stephen Rothberg. I'm one of your co-hosts. I'm the founder of College Recruiter. I'm joined today for kind of a prediction show, end of the year show, what we think might be coming show, with my wonderful co-host, Jeanette Leeds from AMS. Jeanette,
Hello.
happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year. Episode 53. For those who don't know, Jeanette Leeds. I'm the Managing Director, EVP at AMS, focusing on hourly and high volume solutions.
And we're gonna talk a little hourly today. Some things that you think are coming. Now, are you hearing these ideas from specific clients without naming any names? Are these things that AMS is sort of saying, hey, in 2024, these need to be on your roadmap? Where are these coming from?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So it's a mix of all of the above, right?
Okay.
Like seeing what's happening in the market, talking to existing clients and potential clients, and then just overall, what we're seeing at AMS across the board. So I sort of in my head pulled it all together into some sort of crystal ball prediction. We'll see what happens.
And do we have a wager on these, or do we just say Jeanette is kind of on the spot, and so we're going to be kind to her, and if they don't turn out to be true, then okay.
Well, because this is all going to happen. It's all going to be true. There's no question. We can all predict the future. What they say on Wall Street, past performance is not a prediction of future performance. We're going with we're now right now.
That's what they say in the financial disclosure documents. But when they're trying to convince you to invest with them, they're definitely using past performance to convince you of what their future performance is going to be. So
for sure.
So do you want to start with like number one or number three?
Number one. Let's go with number one. And this is a prediction around what's not going to change. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So a little bit of like slight curveball. I'll tell you what is not going to change this year upcoming year in 2024, the labor shortage around hourly workers. That is not going to change. And so what I say that the hiring managers who haven't gotten on board with this idea, because this has obviously been going on now. Certainly we felt that crunch in COVID and there was lots of changes. There's still organizations and hiring managers that are like, let's make it hard or harder for those candidates to apply and to get engaged and to get interviewed and all of that. And so they haven't gotten the joke, if you will, on like, hey, we have to make this more frictionless because you have to keep candidates in. And so that's not going to change. So I think this year we'll see those organizations or hiring managers and individuals start to get even more on board because you can't keep going on the way they've been. So that's prediction number one. Oh, what do you think?
So yeah, no, I think that's really good. I'm also really glad you sort of tied it up that way with we're going to see more of them getting on board, because at some point, even somebody as the British would say, thick as I am, you hit your head against that brick wall enough times, and eventually you realize that wall's going to win. And the labor shortage, especially in the hourly space, it really seems like that. Some organizations, to their credit, really understand it, and they know that they're not going to be able to change it. And it's like they either need to adapt to it, or they need to just say, hey, we're not going to hire these people or not be able to retain them. Like I see like all the time where Amazon in different markets will radically change their hourly rates. And they know that if they pay $2 more an hour in Phoenix, that adds 50,000 more people to the labor force, who are now willing to consider that job. So yeah, that would be something to look forward to for 2024. Sure. Although there's going to continue to be a supply shortage, maybe the employers are going to be more of them are going to be better.
2024 will definitely be better. I like that as just general theme. Okay, so second one, I mean, we can't not predict or talk about AI, but
Yeah.
specifically generative AI, right? Like everyone's talking about, there's the buzz around it, and we are definitely going to see a lot more like that being adopted. But it's going to
Mm.
be, in my mind, around very specific use cases, and it's not going to be every company all of a sudden being like, okay, I'm going to go and do this, because some organizations are laggard and slow to adopt, but we're going to see 100% the rise of Gen AI being used in high volume. I mean, really all of recruiting for sure. I mean, really all over the place, but specifically for hourly. And it's going to be, again, based on specific use cases. We're going to see organizations piloting it. So they might say, okay, we're going to try and use for this specific use case in this location, or for this
Ah,
type of role. So it's going to
okay.
be, I don't see it being this big bang all of a sudden, whole companies doing everything. It's going to be very specific use cases for a different, and then they'll get comfortable with it and say, oh, okay, great. And let's roll it out broader. So that for sure, that's what.
That that totally makes sense, and I think that would be really wise, right? Because it's not just about the tech, it's also about the people using the tech, getting them comfortable. You start to learn, what's the expression? You don't know what you don't know. But if you are forced to use it even on a limited basis, very quickly you start to understand, you know what, we can't use it over here without some big change. I have a question for you. What are you hearing from clients about candidates using generative AI in the recruitment process? Like, are companies, are they starting to get used to the fact that just like they would want employees to use calculators, that they also should want employees to use Gen AI? And therefore, if you've used Gen AI to write your resume better, that actually you're a better candidate, not a worse candidate. Are you hearing?
We're just starting to hear about that, right? Like
Okay.
it's just, we're so at that beginning stages. I think what's really interesting is around, candidates, they need to have these, are going to start to have these skills. Like there's prompt engineering, and where it's like,
Mm,
how do you get out the information from the Gen AI that you need, and asking it in a way that it can give you the best results. And there's a whole skill set that's being developed around that. So that, I mean, that's going to continue on. It's interesting, but because this is so at the very beginning stages, organizations that I'm talking to, they are at the beginning stages. So everyone's just trying to figure this out. And what does that mean from a candidate standpoint and skills based, and then from an organization standpoint, that's it's just the beginning. But you hit on one point around the word a tool, just like what
mm,
computer is a tool. Like all of this I say stuff, whether it's Gen AI or any tech. Um, it's another tool. It's not going to, I really truly, it doesn't replace people. It does not, it's just this extra tool in our tool belt to make us more efficient and effective in whatever our jobs, and our jobs will slightly change and evolve. But you think about all the jobs we've had today, like, did our jobs even exist 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago? No.
right,
So
right,
it's
right.
okay. It's going to be okay.
So, so quick closing note on Gen AI. One thing it's terrible at is helping me with my fantasy hockey league. But that's another story for another day.
Maybe you have to ask it in a different way.
I spend way too much time on both.
Oh my
Let's just
goodness.
say that. But better
That's
that than
great.
like watching random TikTok videos. But anyway, prediction number 3.
Prediction number 3, I was back and forth on this one, as we said, sort of behind the curtain. And so there's a mix that of we're going to see. I'm going to give you two,
Mm,
and they're actually sort of related. So even more automation, because again, you'll have this AI and Gen AI, but then again, if you're doing it, especially for high volume and hourly, like we do the same things over and over and over. So there'll be more automation that will be put in and used, because again, that's how everyone will be able to scale. And that, I want to blend that with, everyone has been talking, certainly the second half of the year, around skills-based hiring, just as a whole. For high volume and hourly, that's been a thing, right? In certain things, when you think about, hey, can you lift 50 pounds for an 8-hour shift? That's a skill, right? It's
Yeah. Yep.
different kind of skill, but it's a skill. And so basing the jobs and these roles on skills and a way to, assess that through automation, we're going to see much, much more of that. And it's interesting to me. There's still a lot of companies out there that aren't using even, so I would say, some tech that's been fairly ubiquitous over the past few years. Like, it's not 100% of companies that are using some of these automated types of technology that are based on skills. So again, that will be even more prevalent and being adopted again, as going back to AI, we'll start to see some of these, use cases and pilots here, even there. So those two things. And with all of that, can't have tech without process change. So there's going to be the changes to how people are working. So,
yeah. Quick note on and I totally agree and love what you're saying about the increased use of automation. The note that I would add to that is that does not mean dehumanization.
Agree.
Or 100%. Right. And so anybody who wants to dig into that more, like, well, how do you automate things without dehumanizing candidates or treating them just like numbers? So Matt Alder, who is a fantastic podcaster, he has a podcast that I think it's called the Recruiting Future. I think it's Recruiting Future with Matt Alder.
Yes.
Fantastic. He's got just a gift of how he presents things, how he talks. He has, guest on each episode, and he talks all the time and really, really well about personalization at scale. And so if any listeners are like struggling, so we want to treat our candidates with create a great experience for them. And part of that's personalization. And so that's holding us back from automating. It's not a binary choice. There is that third lane that he does a really great job of talking about.
That's awesome. It's such a great resource. I agree 100%. And that's so key. I feel like a lot of times people are like, oh my God, I'm going to automate everything. And there's no people, right? And then there's times where it's like, it's all about people. Not like, it's not black and white. Yeah. There's shades of gray, and you can sort of have the best of all of these worlds, right? Where people can do what we do best. Tech, automation, AI can do what that does best. Let's blend it all together. So we'll see. That's probably the biggest theme. If we wrap that all into a nice bow at the end, we'll see the blend of tech and humans even working better together in 2024. How's that first
cool.
Sound?
That's awesome. Yes, but that's where we're going to end. Other than I wish you, your family, your other loved ones a happy New Year. As Spock would say, live long and prosper.
Ooh, you could do that. I love it. I can't. It doesn't work for me. But happy New Year to you and our listeners.
You fail on the skills-based hiring. So the next time that you're being considered for a position imitating Spock, you're just not going to be able to take. Cheers, Jeanette.
Cheers to you, great. Stephen. Thank you. Happy New Year, everyone. See you next year.
Yeah.